The fluorescent lights at Gate 12 security checkpoint hummed with sterile indifference. Maya Richardson placed her passport on the counter with practiced ease. The blue cover gleamed under the harsh lighting. Officer Brennan's eyes flicked from the document to her face. Something cold settled in his expression. His fingers touched the passport but didn't open it. "Step aside," he said. Maya blinked. "I'm sorry?" "Secondary screening." "Step aside." His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Around them, other passengers moved through without issue. White faces, easy smiles. Casual waves. Maya moved to the designated area. Her royal blue blazer felt suddenly conspicuous. Too professional. Too put together. Wrong somehow in ways she'd learned to recognize over 36 years of living. Brennan opened her carry-on with rough hands. Tossed her laptop aside. Shook out her toiletries. Other passengers glanced over, then quickly away. The universal language of "not my problem." "Where did you get this passport?" Brennan held it up like evidence. "I applied through the State Department," Maya said calmly. "Like everyone else." He flipped through pages slowly. Too slowly. His colleague wandered over, sensing entertainment. "Looks off to me," Brennan announced to no one in particular. Maya's heart rate increased, but her voice stayed level. "Sir, I assure you, these security features—" He held the passport to the light. "They look tampered with." "They're not." Maya reached into her bag. "I have federal credentials that—" Brennan's hands moved, fast, deliberate, the passport ripped down the center. The sound was obscene in the quiet checkpoint. He tore again. Pages scattered. The federal seal split. Her photo separated from the binding. Maya's breath caught. Around them, travelers froze. Someone gasped. Brennan's colleague laughed, a sharp bark that echoed off tile floors. The torn pieces fluttered to the counter like broken wings. Maya stared at them. Her hands didn't shake. She didn't scream. She simply stood there as something inside her calcified into cold, focused rage. Brennan smirked. "Looks like you won't be flying today." The silence that followed was more dangerous than any response Maya could give. 6 hours earlier, Maya's alarm chimed at 4:47 a.m. She rose immediately. No snooze button. No hesitation. Discipline was the architecture of her life. Her apartment in Arlington reflected 15 years of federal service. Minimalist furniture. A wall of commendations she never displayed for guests. Framed photos of her father in his colonel's uniform. A purple heart in a shadow box. She showered in exactly 8 minutes. Made coffee while reviewing her briefing materials on a classified tablet. Today's flight to Atlanta wasn't vacation. Joint Task Force meeting. Counter-terrorism analysis. Names and faces she couldn't discuss with anyone outside her clearance level. Maya chose her clothes with tactical precision. Royal blue blazer. Professional but not threatening. White blouse, clean, crisp, impossible to criticize. Black slacks. Minimal jewelry. Her father's voice echoed. "Excellence is your armor, baby girl. They'll look for reasons to doubt you. Give them none." She'd internalized that lesson at 16, at 22, at 29, at every checkpoint where her credentials were questioned, just a heartbeat longer than necessary. Where random screenings felt decidedly non-random. Her credentials folder sat on the kitchen counter. Federal Intelligence Analyst badge, TSA pre-check. Global entry. Security clearances most people didn't know existed. She'd briefed senators. Advised on international incidents. Helped prevent attacks that would never make the news because they never happened. Maya checked her passport. Valid, crisp, stamped with travels to places her neighbors couldn't pronounce. She ran her thumb over the eagle emblem. This document had crossed borders, passed through security checkpoints in 14 countries. Never once had it been questioned. She locked her apartment at 5:43 a.m. Traffic was light to Reagan National. She parked in long-term, rolled her carry-on through the terminal, and joined the security line at Gate 12 just another Tuesday. Just another flight. Just another instance of being excellent, because mediocrity wasn't an option her skin color afforded. The checkpoint officer glanced at passengers ahead of her, waved them through with bored efficiency. Then Maya stepped forward, and everything changed. "Step aside." Brennan's voice carried across the checkpoint. Heads turned. Maya felt the weight of attention shift toward her like a physical force. "Is there a problem?" she asked. "Secondary screening is random," Brennan said, though his eyes told a different story. "Nothing random about this." His gaze traveled from her face to her bag to her shoes, searching for something to justify the suspicion he'd already decided on. Maya moved to the secondary area, placed her bag on the table. Brennan's colleague, a younger officer with a patchy beard, joined him. They exchanged a look, the kind of look Maya had learned to decode. "Laptop out," Brennan ordered. "I have TSA pre-check," Maya said calmly, pointing to her boarding pass. "Not anymore. Laptop out," she complied. Brennan powered it on, ignoring the federal security warning that flashed across the screen. He frowned. "What kind of work do you do?" "Intelligence analysis." Maya kept her voice neutral. "Federal government," the younger officer snorted. "Right. I can provide credentials. Just answer the questions," Brennan interrupted. He pulled out her toiletries, examined each item, opened her makeup bag, squeezed her toothpaste. Other passengers watched from the regular line. Some filmed on phones. Brennan picked up her passport, studied it for too long. "Where were you born?" "Detroit, Michigan. Parents' names?" "Excuse me?" "Answer the question." Maya's jaw tightened. "Colonel Raymond Richardson and Dr. Patricia Richardson." "Colonel." Brennan's smirk deepened. "Sure." He flipped through the passport pages, paused at visa stamps. "You travel a lot." "My work requires it." "What kind of intelligence analyst travels this much?" The younger officer leaned in. "Sounds suspicious." "It's classified work," Maya said. "I can have my supervisor verify these security features." Brennan held the passport to the light. His fingers pressed against the pages too hard. "They look tampered with." "They're not." Maya's pulse quickened. She recognized this game. The setup, the trap. "That passport was issued 3 years ago. It's completely valid." "I don't think so." Brennan looked at his colleague. "Mike, you see this?" Mike squinted theatrically. "Yeah, definitely off." "Sir, please don't." Brennan's hands moved with sudden violence. The passport ripped. The sound cracked through the checkpoint like breaking bone. He tore again. The binding split. Pages separated. Her photo came loose. "Fake documents," Brennan announced loudly. She was trying to board with fake documents. Maya's vision tunneled. The torn pieces fell to the counter. Passengers gasped. Someone laughed. That same sharp bark from Mike. Brennan gathered the pieces like trash. "You're not flying today," he said. "Might want to call a lawyer." Maya's hands trembled, not with fear, with rage so pure it burned behind her eyes. But she didn't move, didn't scream. 36 years had taught her. The moment you react, you prove them right. So she stood there, silent, watching him destroy 10 years of federal service with one casual act of hatred, and waited. The torn passport pieces rested in Maya's palm. The weight was wrong. Too light, too broken. This document had crossed international borders, had been stamped by customs officials in Germany, Japan, South Korea, had represented her citizenship, her identity, her right to move freely. Now it was confetti. Around her, the airport continued. Announcements echoed. Luggage wheels clicked against tile. Travelers rushed past, absorbed in their own urgency. None of them stopped. None of them questioned what they'd witnessed. Maya's breathing slowed. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The technique her father taught her after the college incident, after the traffic stop, after every moment when the world reminded her that excellence wasn't armor. It was camouflage. And sometimes camouflage failed. She thought of her father's face, The exhaustion in his eyes after 40 years of military service. The way he'd sit at the kitchen table some nights, silent, staring at nothing, fighting battles he couldn't name at the dinner table. "You'll have to be twice as good to get half as far," he'd told her once. She'd rolled her eyes then. Teenage arrogance. Now standing in this checkpoint with her destroyed passport, she understood. Twice as good still wasn't enough. A flash of memory, her father's funeral, full military honors, the flag folded with precision. 21 guns. She'd stood in her federal credentials, her own service on display. And still someone had asked if she was really his daughter. Maya opened her eyes. The rage was still there, but underneath it something colder emerged. Calculation, strategy. Her father's other lesson. Anger is a tool, baby girl. But precision is a weapon. She looked at Brennan. He was laughing with Mike, already moving on. Another day at the office. Another person humiliated. Nothing personal, that was the worst part. To him this was routine. Maya's fingers closed around the torn passport pieces. She wouldn't scream, wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Instead, she'd wait, watch, let them think they'd won. Then she'd show them what precision looked like. The first time Maya's father taught her about documentation, she was 19. They sat in his home office, surrounded by decades of military records, commendations, deployment orders, witness statements. "Why do you keep all this?" she'd asked. Colonel Richardson looked up from a file. His face carried the weight of battles fought on American soil, the kind that never made war movies. "Because our word isn't enough, baby girl." "It never has been." He opened a folder. Inside, police reports from a traffic stop. His hands steady on the wheel, compliant, following every instruction. The dashcam footage told the truth the officer's report denied. "I was pulled over for driving while black," he said quietly. 6 times in 1 year. "This documentation saved my career." "Saved me," Maya had frowned. "But you're a colonel. You've served for 23 years at that point." His smile was tired. "Medals don't show through car windows. Neither does character. All they saw was my skin." He taught her to keep records of everything. Email trails, witness names, dates, times, locations. "The system is designed to doubt us," he explained. "So we carry our proof." Maya had taken that lesson into federal service. She documented everything. Every performance review, every commendation, every successful operation she contributed to. Her personnel file was immaculate. She'd worked counter-terrorism analysis for 7 years, helped identify funding networks for extremist groups, analyzed communication patterns that prevented 3 potential attacks, work that would never be declassified, work that mattered. Last year she'd briefed a Senate subcommittee, sat across from lawmakers, and presented intelligence that shaped national security policy. They'd thanked her for her service, called her expertise invaluable, and now Officer Brennan had destroyed her passport because he didn't believe she deserved one. Maya remembered her father's final words to her. 2 days before the heart attack that took him, they'd been discussing her latest promotion. "You're doing what I always dreamed of," he'd said. "But baby girl, never forget, excellence isn't protection. It's just expectation." She hadn't understood then. Thought he was being pessimistic. Now holding torn passport pieces, she finally got it. Excellence was the baseline, the bare minimum. And still it wasn't enough to prevent this moment, but her father had taught her something else. Something Brennan didn't know yet. Documentation wasn't just defense, it was evidence. And evidence could destroy careers. The airport supervisor approached the checkpoint. His badge read Thompson, late 50s, grey hair. Expression of practiced concern. "What's the situation here?" Thompson's voice carried administrative authority. Brennan straightened, shifted into professional mode. "Found irregularities in this passenger's passport, sir. Security features appeared tampered with. When I questioned her, she became aggressive." Maya's breath caught. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. How many times had Brennan done this? I didn't, Maya started. She raised her voice, Brennan continued. Refused to cooperate with secondary screening. I had no choice but to confiscate the fraudulent document. Thompson looked at Maya. His expression shifted. She recognized the transformation. The benefit of doubt draining away. Another black woman causing problems. Another situation to manage, ma'am, if you can't remain calm. I have been calm, Maya said. Her voice was steady, controlled, but she could feel the trap closing. I'm a federal intelligence analyst. My credentials are in my bag. If you just let me... Federal analyst, Brennan laughed. Sir, she's been claiming all kinds of things. First, she says she works for the government. Then she claims her father was a colonel. He was a colonel, Maya interrupted. Colonel Raymond Richardson, 38 years of service. And I can prove everything I've said if you'd just... Ma'am. Thompson held up a hand. I need you to lower your voice. Maya's voice hadn't been raised, but she lowered it anyway. Played the game. My supervisor can verify my identity. I have federal credentials in my bag, please. Thompson hesitated, looked at Brennan. Did you see her credentials? She wouldn't show them, Brennan lied smoothly. Became hostile when I asked. The younger officer, Mike, nodded. She was aggressive from the start, sir. 2 against 1. Their word against hers. The oldest story in America. Maya reached for her phone. I'll call my federal liaison. No. Brennan moved fast. Recording and phone use aren't allowed in security zones. Hand over the device. That's not... Hand it over. Maya's heart pounded. This was it. The moment where compliance meant surrender. Where resistance meant consequences. Every choice was wrong. Then she saw him, captain's uniform, 4 stripes, cutting through the crowd of passengers with purpose. His face, she knew that face, Torres, Captain Marcus Torres. They'd worked together 2 years ago. Joint federal TSA operation. He'd seen her credentials then. Seen her work. Their eyes met. Recognition flashed across his features. Then something else. Shock, understanding, and beneath it, cold fury. Torres walked toward the checkpoint. His stride carried authority that made Thompson and Brennan straighten instinctively. Maya's phone was still in her hand. The torn passport pieces on the counter. The setup complete. But now there was a witness. One who knew exactly who she was. Torres stopped at the counter. Looked at the destroyed passport. At Maya, at Brennan. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. What exactly is happening here? Captain Torres stood at the checkpoint, with the stillness of someone who'd seen combat. His eyes moved from the torn passport to Maya's face. 2 years ago, they'd worked a joint operation, tracking suspicious travel patterns. He'd sat in classified briefings while she presented intelligence that prevented an international incident. He knew exactly who she was, but he didn't reveal that yet. Instead, he turned to Brennan with careful neutrality. I'm Captain Torres. I need to understand what happened here. Brennan's confidence didn't waver. Routine secondary screening, Captain. Passenger presented suspicious documentation. Became aggressive when questioned. Standard protocol. Torres picked up the torn passport pieces. Examined them slowly. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. You destroyed a passenger's passport. It was fraudulent, Brennan said. Security features were tampered with, and you determined this how? Visual inspection. Years of experience. Torres held up a page. The federal seal was clearly visible despite the tear. Holographic elements intact. This looks like standard State Department issue to me. Thompson stepped forward. Captain Officer Brennan has an excellent record. If he flagged the document, I'm not questioning his record. Torres interrupted smoothly. I'm questioning his conclusion. He turned to Maya. Ma'am, what's your name? Maya Richardson. Your destination today? Atlanta. Federal briefing. Torres's expression remained neutral. Federal briefing. What kind of work do you do? Intelligence analysis. Maya kept her voice steady. Counter-terrorism division. Brennan scoffed. Sir, she's been making claims like this since... I'd like to hear her speak, Torres said. The quiet authority in his voice silenced Brennan instantly. Ms. Richardson, do you have federal credentials? In my bag. He wouldn't let me show them. Torres looked at Brennan. Why not? She became hostile before. Did she raise her voice? Make threats? Refuse to comply? Brennan hesitated. She was difficult. That's not what I asked. The silence stretched. Torres turned back to Maya. May I see your credentials? Maya reached into her bag, pulled out her federal badge. The holographic seal caught the fluorescent light. Torres examined it closely. His expression gave nothing away, but Maya saw the muscle in his jaw twitch. This badge number, Torres said quietly. Is it current? Yes, sir. And the briefing in Atlanta. Is it classified? Level 3 clearance required. Torres handed back her credentials, pulled out his phone. I'm going to make a call. Everyone stays here. Brennan's confidence finally cracked, just slightly. Captain, I was following protocol. Then you have nothing to worry about. Torres's smile didn't reach his eyes. Do you? Torres dialed. Put the phone to his ear. This is Captain Marcus Torres, Federal Authorization Code Delta 79 Echo. I need TSA supervision and airport police to Gate 12 security checkpoint immediately. Brennan's face paled. Sir, that's not necessary. It is. Torres kept his eyes on the phone. I'm reporting destruction of federal documentation and possible civil rights violations. Civil rights? Thompson's voice rose. Captain, that's a serious accusation. Destroying a federal analyst's passport based on visual prejudice is a serious crime. The word hung in the air. Prejudice. No one had said it out loud yet. Now it couldn't be unheard. Brennan's hands shook slightly. I didn't know she was federal. You didn't ask, Torres said. Ms. Richardson attempted to show you credentials. You refused to look. Why? She seemed suspicious. Based on what specific behavior? Silence. The answer was visible in Brennan's face, in the way his eyes had moved over Maya from the moment she approached, in the assumptions that preceded any evidence. Torres turned to Maya. When Officer Brennan destroyed your passport, did he examine your other documents first? No, sir. Did he run the passport number through any database? No, sir. Did he consult with his supervisor before destroying federal property? No, sir. Torres's voice dropped to something colder than ice. So he saw your face, made an assumption, and acted on that assumption despite zero evidence of wrongdoing. Thompson tried to intervene. Captain Torres, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. There has been. Torres showed his phone screen. Federal clearance. Highest level. I have authorization to investigate security incidents involving federal personnel. This qualifies, footsteps echoed. Multiple uniforms approaching. Airport police. TSA supervisors. A woman in a federal security director's uniform. Brennan's voice cracked. Please, I was just doing my job. Your job, Maya finally spoke, her words precise as surgical cuts, was to verify documents. Not destroy them based on your personal biases. The federal director reached the checkpoint. Her name tag read Director Chen. She surveyed the scene with sharp eyes. Looked at the torn passport. At Maya. At Torres. Captain Torres, she said. Explain. Torres handed her Maya's credentials. Federal intelligence analyst Maya Richardson was subjected to secondary screening. Officer Brennan destroyed her valid passport without examination or verification. He then filed a false report claiming she was aggressive and presenting fraudulent documents. Director Chen's expression hardened. She looked at Maya. Is this accurate? Yes, ma'am. Officer Brennan. Brennan's mouth opened, closed. I thought the passport looked wrong. Did you verify? Visual inspection. Did you run the number? Check databases? Consult anyone? No, but then you didn't verify. Chen turned to Thompson. Supervisor Thompson, were you present during the initial interaction? No, ma'am. I arrived after. So your information came from Officer Brennan alone? Thompson's face reddened. Yes, ma'am. Chen looked at the airport police. I need security footage from this checkpoint. Last 2 hours, everything. But the arrival of authority didn't bring immediate vindication. Director Chen needed to verify Maya's identity. Without the destroyed passport, that meant calls, bureaucracy, time. Maya stood in the checkpoint while officials debated procedure around her. Passengers filmed, posted to social media. Within minutes, she was trending. Woman claims to be federal agent after security. Confrontation. The comments were predictable, brutal. She probably deserved it. Stop. Resisting, and there's no problem. Why, didn't she just comply? Maya read them on a nearby passenger's phone, the screen visible over their shoulder. Each comment a small violence. The world had already tried and convicted her. Evidence didn't matter. Her credentials didn't matter. The court of public opinion had spoken. An airport police officer asked her to step aside while they reviewed footage. Another small humiliation. She moved to a plastic chair, sat, her hands folded in her lap. The torn passport pieces still on the counter 20 feet away. Around her, travelers whispered, pointed. Some looked sympathetic. Most looked annoyed. Her situation was delaying their flights. Maya thought of her father, remembered him sitting at the kitchen table after incidents he never fully explained. The weight of being doubted, of having your word questioned despite decades of proof. Sometimes, he'd said once, the system protects itself. Not you, remember that, she'd argued then. Believed in the system she'd joined. Federal service meant something. Credentials meant something. Excellence meant something. Now she knew. Excellence was just another word people could ignore. But then Torres appeared beside her, sat without asking permission. His presence was solid, real, a reminder that not everyone had chosen blindness. Footage is loading, he said quietly. 3 minutes, Maya nodded. Didn't trust her voice. I worked with you on Operation Checkpoint, Torres continued. Vienna. You identified the funding network before anyone else saw it. You remember. I remember excellence when I see it. He looked toward Brennan. And I remember prejudice. I've seen it too many times. Something in Maya's chest loosened slightly, not much, but enough to breathe. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet, Torres said. Thank me when this is finished. The footage loaded. And everything changed. Director Chen stood before a laptop. Airport officials clustered around. The footage played on split screens. 4 angles. High definition. Everything visible. Torres positioned himself where he could see both screens and Maya's face. This was the moment. Evidence couldn't be argued with. The timestamp read 6:47 a.m. Maya approached the checkpoint, placed her passport down, smiled politely. Brennan's reaction was immediate. His body language shifted before Maya even spoke. Shoulders squared, eyes narrowed. The prejudice was visible in his posture. Step aside. His voice on the recording matched his body language, hostile from the start. The footage continued. Maya complying, calm, professional. Brennan searching her bag with unnecessary roughness. Mike joining in. The smirks they exchanged when Maya explained her work. Director Chen paused the footage. Officer Brennan, you're claiming she was aggressive. I see no evidence of that. It was her tone. Play audio, Chen ordered. Maya's voice on the recording. Measured, respectful, explaining her credentials. Asking if she could show her federal badge. Brennan interrupting, dismissing, refusing to look. Then the moment. Brennan holding up the passport. Making a show of examining it. The decision already made before he even touched it. The ripping was brutal to watch. Maya's face on camera showed no anger. Just shock, stillness. The kind of control that came from decades of practice. Around her, passengers' reactions, gasps, shock, one woman covering her mouth. And Mike laughing. Chen stopped the footage. Officer Brennan, you destroyed a valid federal document without any verification process. You lied about the passenger's behavior. And you attempted to prevent her from contacting her federal liaison. Brennan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Torres stepped forward. Director Chen, I'd like to make a formal statement. I worked with Ms. Richardson on a classified joint operation 2 years ago. Her credentials and clearance are among the highest I've encountered. She's briefed federal officials, contributed to national security operations. This destruction of her passport isn't just unprofessional. It's criminal. Chen nodded slowly, looked at Maya. Ms. Richardson, I owe you an apology on behalf of TSA. This should never have happened. It shouldn't have, Maya agreed. Her voice was steady. But it did. And I'm not the first person Officer Brennan has profiled. Am I? The question landed like a bomb. Chen's expression flickered. She knew. Of course she knew. That's under investigation, Chen said carefully. How many investigations? Maya pressed. How many complaints have been filed and ignored? Silence. The answer was in that silence. Torres spoke quietly. If there are other victims, they deserve to know this was addressed. Chen turned to airport police. Officer Brennan, you're being placed on immediate suspension pending full investigation. Federal charges will likely be filed. Brennan's face crumbled. Please, I have a family. I made a mistake. You made a choice, Maya said, each word cutting. Every action was a choice. You chose to profile me, chose to destroy my property, chose to lie. Those aren't mistakes. They're character. The checkpoint had transformed into a tribunal. Director Chen stood at the center. Airport operations manager, TSA supervisors, airport police, and a growing crowd of passengers. Phones raised, witnessing Torres pulled up additional footage. Director Chen, I'd like to show something else. He scrolled back. 2 hours earlier. Different passengers, different faces, all white. All waved through with minimal inspection. Then a young Hispanic man. Brennan's body language shifted. Secondary screening. Thorough bag search. The passenger complying nervously. Then an older Asian woman. Same treatment. Brennan examining her documents with exaggerated care. The pattern was undeniable. Visible, recorded. This is from today alone, Torres said. One shift. How many others? Director Chen's jaw tightened. Officer Brennan, do you have an explanation for this pattern? Those were legitimate screenings, based on what threat indicators? Chen's voice was steel. Specific behaviors? Intelligence, or just their faces? Brennan looked at Thompson desperately. Sir, you know I follow protocol. Whose protocol? Thompson's voice had gone quiet, angry. Because this isn't TSA protocol. This is racial profiling. The words hung in the air. Official now undeniable, Maya stood. Walked forward slowly. Every eye tracked her movement. She stopped in front of Brennan. Looked him in the eye. You saw my face, she said. And you decided I didn't belong. That I couldn't possibly be educated. Professional, federal. You decided I was a threat based on melanin. I didn't mean... You did. Maya's voice never rose, never wavered. Every action was intentional. You've probably done this hundreds of times. To people who didn't have federal credentials to defend themselves. People who couldn't call supervisors. People who just had to accept humiliation because you decided they looked suspicious. Brennan's voice cracked. I was trained to look for threats. You were trained, Torres interrupted, to verify documents, ask questions, follow evidence. Instead, you followed prejudice. Director Chen pulled out her phone, made a call. This is Director Chen. I need internal affairs and federal investigators at Gate 12. We have a civil rights violation and destruction of federal property. Brennan's legs seemed to give out. He sat heavily. Please, I have kids. A mortgage. I'll lose everything. You should have thought of that, Maya said quietly, before you destroyed my passport, before you humiliated me in public, before you lied to your supervisor. A passenger in the crowd shouted, She's right. I saw the whole thing. Others joined in. He didn't even check her documents. He just tore it up. I recorded it. The witnesses were speaking now, the silence broken, the truth multiplying. Director Chen turned to the crowd. Anyone who witnessed this incident, please provide contact information to airport police. Your statements will be part of the federal investigation. Dozens of hands raised, phones brandished, evidence everywhere. Thompson looked at Brennan with something like disgust. Officer Brennan, you're terminated effective immediately. Criminal charges are pending. No, Brennan's voice broke. Please, I'm sorry. You're sorry you got caught, Maya said. Her voice carried across the checkpoint. You're sorry there were cameras. You're sorry there were witnesses. But you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it mattered. The silence that followed was absolute. Then slowly applause, starting with one passenger. Then another. Then dozens. Maya didn't acknowledge it. She simply looked at Brennan, held his gaze. Let him see the strength he'd tried to destroy. I've served this country for 10 years, she said. Prevented threats you'll never know existed. Briefed officials who shaped national policy. And you saw none of that. You saw only what you wanted to see. That's not security. That's bigotry with a badge? Director Chen nodded to federal security. Escort Officer Brennan out. Process him for federal charges. As they led him away, Brennan looked back once. Maya met his eyes. Felt no satisfaction, no triumph. Just exhaustion. The system had worked this time. But how many times had it failed? 2 hours later, Maya sat in first class. Emergency federal travel document in her bag. The airline had upgraded her. Unspoken apology. Torres had personally escorted her through a private security lane. No checkpoints. No questions. Director Chen had provided her direct number. If you need anything. Anything at all, the news was already spreading. Social media exploded with the footage. Brennan's firing trending. Think pieces writing themselves. Politicians issuing statements about TSA reform. Maya watched it all from her phone. Felt strangely disconnected. The viral moment didn't erase the humiliation. The destroyed passport couldn't be untorn. The assumptions Brennan made couldn't be unmade. But something had shifted. Not justice, that was too clean a word. Accountability, maybe, visibility. The system had been forced to see itself. Her father's photo was her phone wallpaper, his face in dress uniform, the pride in his eyes. You'd be proud, she whispered to the image. And exhausted. Because nothing really changes, does it? But maybe that was wrong. And maybe change was incremental. One checkpoint at a time. One officer held accountable. One viral video forcing people to see what they'd ignored. The plane engines hummed. Passengers settled. A flight attendant approached. Ms. Richardson, can I get you anything? I'm fine, thank you. For what it's worth, the attendant said quietly. I saw what happened. I'm glad you're okay. Maya nodded. Small kindnesses. They mattered too. As the plane taxied, she opened her laptop. The classified briefing materials waited. The mission that was always more important than any individual's hatred. Work that served the country that sometimes failed to serve her back. She thought of Brennan, fired, facing charges, his life imploding. She felt no satisfaction, just tired recognition. He was a symptom, not the disease. Tomorrow another officer might do the same thing, might profile another passenger, and maybe they'd have witnesses, or maybe they wouldn't. But today, at least, the camera had been watching. The evidence had been preserved, and the truth had been impossible to deny. Maya's father used to say, change the things you can, document the things you can't, and never stop fighting. She'd done all three today. It would have to be enough. The plane lifted off. Atlanta waited. The briefing, the work, the mission that continued regardless of personal trauma. Because excellence wasn't optional. It was survival. And Maya Richardson was very good at surviving. Her father's voice echoed as the city shrank below. Dignity isn't given, baby girl. It's maintained. Maya understood now in ways she hadn't before. Standing in that checkpoint, Surrounded by mockery and disbelief, she could have exploded. Society expected it, the angry reaction that would have justified every prejudice Brennan held. Instead, she'd stood still. Let the truth do the work she couldn't. Let the system she served prove it could occasionally serve her back. Not every story ends this way. She thought of colleagues who'd faced worse and received nothing. No viral video, no witnesses, no captain with federal clearance, just humiliation absorbed and silence maintained because speaking up felt impossible. Her father had known that exhaustion, had lived it for 38 years, had taught her that armor wasn't protection, it was expectation, the baseline requirement, and still sometimes catastrophically insufficient, but he'd also taught her documentation, precision, strategy, the long game that outlasted individual hatred. Brennan was gone. But the checkpoint remained. Tomorrow, new officers would stand in that same spot, and Maya couldn't know if they'd learned anything. Couldn't know if one firing would shift an entire culture. All she could do was her job. Show up, be excellent, and when excellence failed to protect her, document everything and let the evidence speak. Below, the city dissolved into geography, grid lines and highways. From this height, everything looked orderly, logical. The chaos of ground-level life smoothed into patterns. Maya closed her eyes, felt the hum of engines, thought of her father's funeral, the flag folded with military precision, the rifle salute, the pride and pain of service. Sometimes justice doesn't roar, he'd told her once. Sometimes it just stands still and watches hatred destroy itself. She hadn't believed him then. Too young, too idealistic, too convinced that excellence was shield enough. Now she knew better. Excellence was necessary but not sufficient. Documentation was survival. And sometimes, if you stood still long enough, the system's own cameras would expose what your words never could. The briefing waited in Atlanta. Classified threats, intelligence that would shape policy, work that mattered in ways Brennan would never understand. Her passport was destroyed, but her purpose remained intact. And that, Maya thought as the plane climbed toward cruising altitude, was its own kind of victory. Sometimes the armor holds. Sometimes it doesn't, but you keep wearing it anyway because giving up isn't strategy, it's surrender. And Maya Richardson didn't surrender.